Chapter 4, Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. So, exactly what kind of games are we talking about? I don't know, said Akimi. Fun book stuff, I guess. And do you think this new library will have equally new computers? Definitely. Wi-Fi? Probably. Kyle nodded slowly. And all this takes place Friday night. Yep. Akimi? I think you just discovered a way for me to shorten my most recent groundation. Your what? My game-deprived parental punishment. Kyle figured being locked in the library with computers on a Friday night was actually better than being stuck at home without any gaming gear at all. Can I borrow a pen and sheet of paper? What? You're gonna write your essay now? On the bus? Better late than never. They're due in homeroom, Kyle, first thing. Fine, I'll keep it brief. Akimi shook her head and handed Kyle a notebook and a pen. The bus bounced over a speed bump into the school driveway. He would need to make his essay really, really short. He was hoping the 12 winners would be randomly pulled out of a hat or something like that, like the lottery that people do on TV commercials. You just had to be in it to win it.
Wait, they do the lottery on TV commercials?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in another part of town, Charles Chiltington was sitting in his father's library. He was working with the college student who'd been hired to help him polish up his extra credit essay. He was dressed in a typical school uniform, khaki slacks, blue blazer, button-down shirt, and tastefully striped tie. Charles Chiltington was the only student at Alexandria Middle School who dressed that way. What's a big word for library? Charles asked his tutor. Teachers love big words. Book repository. Bigger, please. Athenaeum. Perfect. It's such a weird word. They'll have to look it up. Charles made the change, saved the file, and sent the document off to the printer. Your dad sure reads a lot, said his ELL tutor, the leather-bound books lining the walls of Mr. Chiltington's home library. Knowledge is power, says Charles. It's one of our fundamental family philosophies. Another was, we eat losers for breakfast. Kyle and Akimi climbed off the bus and headed into the school. You know, said Akimi, my dad told me the library people had like a bazillion different architects doing drawings and blueprints, and they couldn't share them with each other. How come? To keep everything super secret. My dad and his firm did the front door, and that was it. The second they stepped into Mrs. Cameron's classroom for homeroom, Miguel Fernandez shouted, "Hey, Kyle, check it out, bro!" He held up a clear plastic binder, maybe 2 inches thick. I totally aced my essay, man. The library, Delio? Yeah, I put in pictures and charts, plus a whole section about the ancient library of Alexandria, Egypt, that is, since this is Alexandriaville, Ohio. Cool, said Kyle. Miguel Fernandez was super enthusiastic about everything. He was also president of the school's Library Aid Society. Hey, Kyle, you know what they say about libraries? Not really. They have something for every chapter of your life. While Kyle groaned, the school bell rang. All right, everybody, said Mrs. Dana Cameron, Kyle's homeroom teacher. Time to turn in your extra credit essays. She started walking up and down the rows of desks. The judges will be meeting in the faculty lounge this morning to make the preliminary cut. What's preliminary mean?
I have no clue.
Oh, like
Pre-means before. So a preliminary cut would be the first round of cuts for who's going to make it or win the essay contest. Mr. Keeley, the teacher hovered over his desk. Did you write an essay? Yeah, sort of. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Either you wrote an essay or you didn't. Kyle handed his sister a scribbled piece of paper. And unfortunately, Mrs. Cameron read it out loud. Balloons. There might be balloons. The class erupted with laughter until Mrs. Cameron did that, tilt down her glasses and glare over them thing to terrify everybody into silence. This is your essay, Kyle? Yes, ma'am. We were supposed to write why we were excited about the grand opening of the library, and well, balloons are my favorite part. I see, said Mrs. Cameron. You know, Kyle, your brother Curtis wrote excellent essays when he was in my class. Yes, Mrs. Cameron, mumbled Kyle. Mrs. Cameron sighed contentedly. Please give him my regards. Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Cameron moved on to the next desk, and Miguel eagerly handed in his booklet. Very well done, Miguel. Thank you, Mrs. Cameron. Kyle heard an odd noise in the parking lot. A puttering, clunking, clanking sound. Oh my, said Mrs. Cameron. I wonder if that's him. She hurried to the window and pulled up the blinds, and the class followed her. And then they saw it. Out in the visitor parking lot, a car that looked like a giant red boot on wheels. It had a strip of notched black boot sole for its bumper. Thick shoelaces crossed all the way up to the window sill, and a 10-foot boot collar. It looks like the red boot from the game, said Miguel, from Family Frenzy. Kyle nodded. Family Frenzy was Mr. Lemoncello's first and probably most famous game. The red boot was one of the 10 tokens that you could pick to move around the board. That reminds me of the shoe in Monopoly.
Yeah!
Yep. A tall, gangly man stepped out of the boot car. It's Mr. Lemoncello, gasped Kyle, his heart racing. What's he doing here? It was just announced, said Mrs. Cameron. This evening, Mr. Luigi Lemoncello will be the final judge. What? Your library essays. Tomorrow, chapter 5.
Dun dun dun!
I searched.
You done, Ian?